Do you feel like you're stuck in your rank with the next one feeling impossible to reach? Are you constantly asking yourself, how did I lose that game? The truth is, ranking up in Marvel Rivals is easy. You just have to master the right skills at the right time. So whether you're stuck missing your shots in bronze, struggling with adaptability in gold, or missing key macro decisions in diamond, I'm going to break down the single biggest mistake holding you back rank by rank. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share how top 500 and Eternity players separate themselves from everybody else, and how you can too. At bronze, the game often feels chaotic, and it's tempting just to jump into fights, chase kills, or attempt big ultimate combos. But the reality is, without solid fundamentals, all that aggression and chaos just leads to unnecessary deaths. Your focus at this rank should be on building some mechanical consistency first. It's important to begin with aim and positioning, because these form the foundation of a good player. For aim, always prioritize landing basic hits and tracking your targets. Don't try to land headshots all the time or flick to every shot. The best way to train this is to start in the range before you play. Head down to the advanced training ground and set the following parameters. I'd recommend using a hit scan character for this routine, such as Punisher or Hela, but feel free to play whatever you're practicing at this time. Doing this for at least 5 minutes before you play is going to get you warmed up and slowly build good muscle memory for tracking targets. Doing this every time you play will make a big difference. Trust me. If you're landing consistent hits and dealing consistent damage, you will win your fights. Now let's discuss positioning. Even with great aim, bad positioning will get you killed instantly. Learning how to play around cover and your team is what good positioning looks like. You should focus on always playing near cover that lets you duck in and out of fights. Avoid standing in the open as much as possible. When in doubt, or if there's no close by cover, position behind your tank or alongside your supports. This will always put you in a strong position to help your supports deal with dive in the backline as well. Before fights, ask yourself, if I get focused, where am I going to fall back to? If you don't have an immediate answer to this question, you are not in a good position. When you start thinking about where you're fighting instead of just who you're shooting, you're going to instantly feel the difference. Staying alive longer and landing reliable shots is going to allow you to actually contribute to fights instead of feeding. This is what separates players who climb from players who stay stuck in bronze. Once players reach silver, they usually have a decent grasp of the basics. However, silver introduces a new mistake to be aware of: ignoring team synergy. At this point, you can aim, move, and survive relatively well, but now you need to learn how to actually play with others. To climb out of silver, you need to start thinking like a team player. Every ability, every hero, every ultimate is more powerful when used alongside your teammates. To give you 3 basic examples, here's how playing as a team will help you win consistently. First, ability combos. When you're playing with your team, abilities will combo naturally and can end fights instantly. A Luna Snow ult into a Punisher ultimate will win a fight 90% of the time. A Magneto tossing his ult alongside a Phoenix ult will delete the enemy team before they can react. Even without voice chat, just watching what your teammates are doing and syncing your damage or CC can swing fights hard in your favour. Second, peeling. When you play close to your team, you're automatically in a good position to peel and protect. If your supports are being dived, you can peel back and save them. Even tanks can drop the front line for a few seconds to clean up a dive and then re-engage afterwards. Protecting your backline keeps everybody alive longer, and a living support means more sustain, more ults, and more time to win the fight. Third, uptime. Fighting as a team means you're covered from multiple angles. You can trade damage more efficiently and you're less likely to get caught out alone. It keeps you alive longer. Dying solo somewhere across the map turns the next fight into a 5v6, and that's going to be a guaranteed uphill battle for the rest of your team. Staying grouped keeps pressure on the enemy while keeping you safe. Team synergy is what turns solid individual play into consistent wins. When your actions help your team as a whole, every fight becomes easier to control. At silver, learning to fit into the team is much more impactful than trying to solo carry. By the time you've reached gold, you now understand the importance of good teamwork. You know synergy wins games and you're pretty solid mechanically. But here's where a new problem appears: selfishness. Instead of continuing to adapt and learn, many gold players dig into what's comfortable. They've got their favourite hero, they've got their main role, and they refuse to play anything else, even if it's losing them games. That's what keeps most people stuck in gold. At this rank, climbing is about being adaptable. You can't just play well individually, you need to fill the gaps in your team. The easiest way to do this is by learning at least 2 heroes from each role. My recommendation is to start with Doctor Strange and Magneto for tank, Bucky and Hela for DPS, and Luna Snow and Invisible Woman for support. Now you don't need to master them, you just have to have a few reliable picks that you can swap to when your team needs something different. This flexibility becomes even more important during the game. Let's say your team's supports keep getting dived. Instead of hoping that they play better or flaming them for dying to dive, switching to something like Adam Warlock and shutting that dive down yourself can be what wins you the game. Or maybe your front line can't push through the first point. Well, you can swap to a hero who can help make space or sustain through pressure. Being adaptable lets you solve problems in real time rather than losing a game in 5 minutes because nobody wants to change. Each role also teaches you something valuable about the game. Playing support is going to improve your positioning and your awareness, when to push, when to fall back, while playing tank can teach you timing and space control. Even if you prefer DPS, those lessons make you a smarter player overall, because you start to see how the entire team fits together. Ask yourself, what does my team need right now instead of what do I want to play? That simple mindset shift will carry you straight into Platinum and beyond. By the time you hit Platinum, you've developed real skill. You've got good mechanics, solid positioning, and a sense of when to engage. But here's the trap. You've also built habits, and at this rank, those habits start to hold you back. You're playing on autopilot. Marvel Rivals is a dynamic game, and Platinum players are smart enough to punish predictability. You can't just rely on the same off angle, the same hero, or the same combo every match and expect it to keep working. The key difference between a stuck Platinum and someone who can reach Diamond is understanding why something worked and why it didn't. It is never bad luck. Instead of defaulting to habits, start analysing your plays. When something fails, ask yourself, was it poor ultimate usage? Was it bad positioning, or was I just too predictable? That small moment of reflection between fights or matches is how you grow faster than everybody else. Platinum players who don't analyse stay stagnant. Even when a play fails, if you understand why, you gain valuable insight for the next fight and for your next game. That's what's going to separate a good Platinum player from a future Diamond one. Not perfect execution, but instead deliberate learning. Reaching Diamond is a considerable achievement. By this point, you've spent a lot of time refining your mechanics, understanding fights, and learning the flow of the game. Ranked matches are far more competitive at this level, and even small mistakes can decide rounds. But here's the truth. Mistakes still happen all the time, and the biggest one I see at Diamond is a lack of awareness. At this rank, fights aren't just won by raw skill, they're won by information. Knowing what abilities are available, when people are vulnerable, and how to position yourself effectively. Players who ignore this often get punished, sometimes before they even step into a fight. Let's break down the key areas you need to focus on. First, ability awareness. Pay attention to what's been used. For example, if Loki's lamps was forced, he is far more exposed and vulnerable than he was before. You can dive him, focus DPS, or even drop an ultimate in their backline, and there's not much he can do to counter you anymore. Recognizing these small windows of opportunity lets you capitalize and win fights that might otherwise feel even. Second, ultimate tracking. Keeping mental notes of enemy ultimates and those on your team. If the enemy stranger is about to use a big ultimate, anticipate it and set up a counterplay. If you're Bucky, charge your hook or save your stun as Hela. Knowing when and where these abilities might hit gives you the edge to prepare and avoid devastating swings. Third, dive management. Now this is a big one. Be aware of dive heroes and what they're likely to do before they commit. Instead of reacting after your backline is under threat or already dead, position and plan ahead. Divers usually operate in the same window. They'll try to dive after the main fight has started and look for a timing. Try to think about this timing too and be ready to peel with CC and punish their overextension. Being proactive allows you to nullify dives before they even disrupt your team. It's all of these small pieces of information that add up. At Diamond, awareness is the difference between starting a fight 5v6 and turning it into a decisive win. The best players aren't just mechanically skilled, they're thinking 3 steps ahead, using knowledge of abilities, ultimates, timings, and hero tendencies to control fights before they even start. At Grandmaster, your mechanics are already top tier. Your aim, utility usage and execution are solid. The biggest mistake at this rank has nothing to do with mechanics or game sense, it is all your mental. You're often going to face players who have peaked Celestial or Eternity, and many of them carry a strong ego, sometimes accompanied by trash talk or negativity.
I mean, this Tempest guy is like so shit on Hawkeye.
It's easy to let that get in your head, but losing your composure will cost you games. The key here is self-awareness. If you notice yourself getting frustrated after a lost fight, taking a step back is critical. Take a deep breath, reset and refocus on the next game. Recognize when your mental state is affecting your play, and don't be afraid to pause for a few minutes take a small break. It's also important to remember that everybody makes mistakes. Don't be that person that flames teammates or gets frustrated over problems. Everybody's human, just like you. Instead, focus on what you can control. Your decisions, your positioning, and your ability to stay calm. Strong mental resilience at this level also means listening to your team and staying objective under pressure. If your teammates are suggesting that you switch off of your usual DPS pick to better suit the team's needs, don't let your ego get in the way. Just switch. Grandmaster games punish stubbornness far more than anything else. Being willing to adapt based on input from your team is incredibly important. I've been there, and let me tell you, there is far more grace in switching to something else than finishing the game negative and being the sole reason that your team lost. At Grandmaster, a strong mental is not optional. It is what separates those who stagnate from those who break into Celestial and Eternity. Focus on staying calm, being self-aware, and controlling your mindset, and the rest of your gameplay will follow. Moving on to the last part of this video, I'm going to group Celestial and Eternity together because depending on where you are in the season, Celestial can also include top 500 players. Once you reach this level, you're competing against the best in Marvel Rivals. At this rank, the biggest difference isn't aim, it's mindset. Ego is the trap that keeps skilled players from climbing further. You've now become that player that flames GMs when you go on a loss streak. It all comes full circle. The three things that help me reach top 500 and that will help you too are reviewing games, studying better players, and staying humble. Reviewing VODs is very important. You constantly need to watch your own gameplay. Analyze mistakes, positioning errors, and ability usage. Self-reflection is essential to growth, and it allows you to fix patterns you didn't even notice in real time. Self-reflection is far easier once you're actually out of the game and have a better ability to be objective. You also need to study better players to see how they handle positioning, angles, and abilities. Learn from their decision making and situational awareness, and then adapt those lessons to your own play. This is incredibly valuable, and I cannot stress how much this helped me climb. Lastly, stay humble. Accept that there's always something to refine. Let go of your ego, embrace feedback and self-criticalness, and focus on improving what you can control. At the highest level, the players who continue climbing are the ones who stay hungry, disciplined, and committed to growth, whilst everybody else plateaus. Thanks for watching.